Welcome to the Unshakeable Growth. I'm Esti, and let's get started. Today we have our first guest speaker here, Karms. So I know Karms from my public speaking journey when I attended a 3-day public speaking boot camp. So I found out that Karms has really this energetic vibe that attracted me to her. So welcome, Karms.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. I think you get a lot of these questions, like where do you get your energy from?
It's kind of funny. I do get this a lot. I gotta say it's not something I used to get all the time. It's a recent question. So it's probably only in the last 12 months or so that I get this question a lot. Prior to that, I didn't get this, like, not at this sort of rate. Yeah. But yeah, where do I get it from? I think it's just actually connecting to a purpose. So before I used to do corporate. So I used to be an accountant, right? So yeah, the corporate life, doing that. And I thought that was like kind of the normal thing to do, right? Like everyone goes to work. And like, I don't think I was really connected to doing the thing that I love. Whereas now I think I show up with a different energy because I'm actually excited about everything that I do because I get to meet like amazing people. That brings excitement to me. And I think it's because it's very aligned to like my deepest desire, right? Like I'm working on things not just for money, but I'm working on things that truly matters to me.
Okay, because when I first know you, I know that you previously introduced yourself being an accountant for what, about 15 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what makes you have this shift in terms of working from corporate for 15 years and now doing your own business or being an entrepreneur of your own?
I would say that's from multiple things. If I backtrack, I would say I did the accounting thing because I'm very logically minded. And my childhood made me have this thing where I really wanted to make money and to have freedom because I was relatively trapped. We can go into that if you want. But yeah, because of that childhood upbringing, and I value money so much. And it's probably embedded in the Asian culture as well. I literally, Steve, I flipped the statistics book. You know, the moment when you were like enrolling in uni, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah, and then you're in this like moment where you feel like you're deciding your entire life, like your whole career, like what am I studying to become, right? So I was looking at the statistics book and I'm literally like, which job is going to make me the most money with the score that I had, right? So I actually desired to be an architect at the time. I didn't have the scores for it. And architecture was a 6-year degree. It was like 5-year plus like 1 year. You had to do like, I don't know what you call them, but like, you know, it's like you have to go out to the real world to like, you know, actually do some intern type work for it. And I was like, 6 years, that's a long time. Plus,
Yeah.
yeah, it needed like a bridging course because I didn't have the mark. So I think it's 5, but then it's 6 because if I had to go into that. So I'm like, well, business degree is only 3 years and I had enough scores to get into that. So I was like, half the time, each year, it's a lot of money, right? Each year means a lot of money. And I had this perspective very early on because back in high school, we had this moment where I learned about opportunity cost. So,
Yeah, the time content.
yeah, so our teacher, we were like really naughty kids, right? Like, and we were just all laughing about stupid stuff, and our teacher snapped at us, right? And just go, you kids, do you realize if you had to stay back, it will cost you $20,000? I was like, what? I'm like, how? Like, I went to a public school, right? So I'm like, annual tuition like school fee doesn't cost that much. So I'm like, where are you pulling this $20,000 from? Like, I just didn't get it. So he had my attention, right? And I'm like, what? And then he went on to explain that, well, every year, even if you worked at grocery store stacking shelf, you would be making $20,000 at least. I was like, oh yeah, he's right. So he's like, every year you're at school, you're paying for that. It's not free money. It's not like time is money. That's when I realized time is money. And it's not just the money you're paying, but the money you're missing out, you're leaving on the table, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, far out. So I'm like, if I stay in uni for double amount of time, that's at least $60,000 like gone to waste, right? And the thing is, my job would not be stacking shelf. It would be like at least double that, right? Because I'm doing more meaningful work, hopefully. So I'm like, damn. So yeah, from that, I was like, what's the shortest degree that's going to make me the most money? And that was pretty much accounting. I was like, that was like a no-brainer. I was like, yep, I get out in 3 years. It looks like I can get a promotion really quickly. So I'm just going to follow that path. That's what led me to doing accounting. But what got me out of that was I made a bunch of money, and then I realized that wasn't very fulfilling, and I felt really bad about myself. So I had to go on this purpose hunt. I was like searching for purpose, which led me to this.
When you mentioned about making a lot of money, and was that when you were in this corporate job and without purpose, you don't see purpose in life at that point of time?
So to me, making a lot of money means you get to a freedom point. So how can I get myself to the quickest point where the lifestyle that I'm happy with, that my income, money coming in exceeds the money going out? To me, that's freedom, right? So if I have this lifestyle without, not like I'm living on bread or something, but it's like, okay, if I can keep this lifestyle, that's so once I get the freedom point, that's what I was aiming for. It's like, how can I get to that freedom point? So I made an X amount of money. I anchored an X amount of money to this thing. But I knew that just by doing my job, I couldn't reach that. Because it's like, no matter how hard you work, there's no way you can make that sort of money to get to freedom point. And I wasn't willing to wait till 65. Because I'm like, everyone's retiring at 65 to get to this point. And even if it wasn't, it's like 50 still felt pretty bad to me. It's like, I don't want to wait till 50 to live my life, right? So I'm like, I have to live my life now. How do I get that quicker? So I made different investment decisions along with my job. But I also made sure I would be taking leaps and bounds in my job to get the promotion, to seek for the opportunities. And I learned that the hard way, because I realized if you work really hard, no one will recognize that. It's not how hard you work, because I looked at the people that were like making more money than me in the office. A lot of them isn't necessarily working hard. So it's like, how did they become at that level where they can delegate work whilst looking like they're relatively free, enjoying their work life, like in the office, more than I am, getting paid more? It's like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, there's something I need to learn here. And that was beyond like, like just trying to get on boss's good side, or it wasn't about polishing shoes, the Asian saying. It's like polishing your people's shoes again. It was more than that, right? It's like they had a skill set and I needed to learn that. So I focused on learning people skills beyond just technical skills, and I realized that would get me further quicker.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
I guess we'll just do one step at a time.
Yeah. Do one step at a time. So,
yeah. But yeah, okay. Understanding that people skills is really important.
Yep.
So now that you move on to creating your own company, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Excel Purpose.
Yeah.
So originally, when you started Excel Purpose, what was the business model, or what were you thinking of doing, like your original intention?
I had no idea, to be fair. So when I started my business, I was literally thinking, I'm really good at my personal goals. So I thought, if I could help other people get to their goals, that would be amazing. I'm like, that's a good outcome, right? And I had this perspective from, I didn't like accounting so much. So what I did was I kept leaning towards project work.
Mhm.
And so I started delivering these projects that were really big. Like they're like millions of dollars and billions of dollars. So I'm like, hang on a minute. If I can deliver these high profile projects or high value projects well, then surely I can deliver personal projects, right? So like logically that it's like, I'm like, it's the same process. It's like, if I take what I use at work and I just went, okay, personal project will be the same. What's the outcome you want, the result, which typically hinge on like a dollar value, right? Like it's got to be, at least it's got to be something measurable. There has to be some metrics to it.
Yeah.
Then it's just milestones and time frame. What steps do you need to take in what time frame? Like, right? So it's like, is it within this year or when, right?
Mhm.
So once we have those steps, then it's like, who is responsible for that? So in a personal goal, it would just be that person. Like they are the project manager and everything else, right?
Yeah.
So you don't get to delegate it to anyone else. So and I was just the coach that would oversee it. So I'll just make sure you stay on track to your personal goal. And it's got to be a goal that I've either walked or know that between us, we have the skill set to reach that goal. Otherwise, I wouldn't take it on, right? Because I wouldn't actually really know the path, right? So I only took on people that's like, I've walked that path, I can help you. Yeah, and I did that. That was my starting point. I'm like, I'm just going to be an accountability coach. I'll help you with your goals, right? And
Yeah.
at the beginning, it will be all sorts of random goals. And then after a while, there was a pattern. So people would come up to me and go, wait, how did you do this thing? Can I start my own business too?
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. And then because there was enough common questions, I started running business challenges. It'll be like, okay, I'll help you launch your business in 10 days because I took ages to figure it out.
Mhm.
So if I can like laser point you to like all the mistakes I made and how long all the things that I didn't do that I realized I could have done really quickly, I'm like, I think I can shorten this 1 year process into like 10 days. I'm like, I'll just teach you the critical steps for you to start and launch. And I did that. And then people started like launching their businesses and that was been fun. And then I realized I can't just leave them there. So I used to just leave people there. It's like, okay, well, you're good now. Like, do your own thing. But yeah, like, then people would just be like, wait, but I now lost momentum. I need more hand holding, right? So it took me like another like year or something to realize, oh no, people actually want more help. I can't just leave them there. So then I started helping people with funnel building, started helping them with like video editing. Yeah, it's just serving people where they need.
Yeah. And basically, I think it leverages on what you originally wanted, which is the people skill, and then holding them accountable to making yourself an accountability coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was easier on the identity shift, because I think identity shift is the hardest thing. When I was contemplating on being an accountant and then not that's really hard because you have to pretty much feel like you're killing off your identity. It's like the time that you have invested into, for me, becoming an accountant. It's like you don't want to feel like 15 years went to waste. So to not have it go to waste, I have to really think about what are the transferable skills
Mhm.
for this new character I'm building. Which is hard, right? Because at the beginning, it's like, I don't feel like a coach yet. It's like, it's so hard to put the coach identity
Yeah.
on. It's like, that doesn't fit yet, right? So through the journey, I had to find a way to go. That's why I started off being accountability coach. It's like, well, that fits. I could do that. I'm just keeping you accountable, right?
That's right.
Then when I had more and more coaching skills, I felt a lot more comfortable telling people, oh, okay, well, I'm a business coach, or like, yeah, I can help you. I can be your mentor on this thing, right? And that came much more at ease as I acquired the necessary skill sets.
Yeah. And so you started with those accountability coach, and then because I saw behind your background you have this NLP thing. So
Yeah.
can you tell me more about that?
The NLP thing is an interesting one because what happened was I started taking on clients, right? And I noticed it was about like, say, 80% of the people would take the action. Then there would be like this 20% where I can't quite move them. Like they're not getting to the goal as much as I would want them to, right? And it's not that between us we don't have the skill set or that they don't have the potential. Like all of that is there. It's just I couldn't quite motivate them to do that thing. And I would play good cop, bad cop, like, I'll penalize them, right? Like, and I would do these public. I've even tried like publicly like embarrassing both of us. It's like if we fail, I'm like, we will both go on Facebook Live, do push-ups because
Oh
we
my God.
failed our goals, right? Me as a coach and you, like we both failed, right? So I will
Yeah.
publicly shame us basically. Like, I'm like, which work? Like good cop, bad cop, right? Like, if I give you something like a reward or I penalize you, which one worked better? Like, so I would be trying these different techniques. And over time, I'm like, no, I need better tools in my belt. So I started learning about NLP
Mhm.
and I really loved it because it gave me a whole set of tools to like motivate people and understand what works. I realized that people are just different. So unless I understood how to talk to them in a manner that would motivate them, then I'm not being as good as a coach as I can be, right? I don't think it was about taking on the right clients. It was about, can I communicate in a way that resonates with the person in front of me, not just communicate with them the way that I am, right? But
Yeah.
can I adjust my communication that fits them, that would motivate them to take the action that we both want to get them to their goal? Yeah. And NLP helped me do that.
Yeah, I think I previously saw one of your recent posts saying that how people perceive the message differently, right? And you want to deliver those message to how they can perceive that.
Yes, exactly. Because I don't believe there is like a resistant client or resistant person. It's just we have inflexible communicators.
So if you want to get to your goal, you have to communicate it in the way where the person that is executing it to be able to do it, right?
Yeah, and this can go really deep. So it depends how deep you want to go on that, right? But it's like for me, there's kind of like 5 conditions on like achieving an outcome, which is the goal, right? So in my mind, if someone doesn't have the goal that they want, my head would be like, how is it possible that you don't have it? That's the only question that's in my head. How is it possible that you don't have it? So I would go and dig for information to find out about the person in front of me. It's like, okay, what is their belief? What is their thoughts? What is the values? Like what I need to find out enough information about that person to know what is the limiting belief that is holding them back. And what are the values that they're holding, because we are all driven by values. And when the values clash with the goal that they want, that's when they won't do it. So if I figure out what that is for them, and that's just asking them a series of questions, I get all the clues and I can break through that mindset for them. And then they'll magically start achieving their goals. And they won't even know why. They'll just be like, oh, okay, working with Karms somehow magically moved me to get to my goals. But there's a process to it, right?
Yeah, that's interesting to hear how you break it down, like to dig further on what is their limiting beliefs and things like that, to know them further to achieve their goals.
Yes. And one of the biggest thing about people not moving is like, whenever people make a goal, it's always got to be like positive and ecological. So the goals got to come from a place that's like it's not out of revenge or something, right? That's what I mean by positive. It's like, it's got to be a positive goal, but it's also got to be like good for like you and the people around you. So what I mean by that, it's like, if it's a goal, but it's like, it's conflicting with their values,
Mhm.
Let's say if their value is loyalty, right? But that goal is like, it would somehow feel like it's not a loyal thing, that they won't do it, right? So yeah, so for me, like, I'll give you an example. So like, say for my career, right? I stayed 10 years in my first job, right? Because I wanted to feel like I'm a loyal employee, right? So if I jump boat, I'm not loyal. That's what I associate it with, right?
Mhm.
That's why you would see people jump from job to job, but it's like, who the hell even stays in a job for like more than 10 years, right? But like, I value loyalty.
Mhm.
So with this, it's like, it doesn't matter what other jobs are there. It's like, well, if I value loyalty, then nothing is going to move me, right? So something has to change, or a belief of mine have to change before I would jump. So yeah, when you know what someone values, you got to make sure the goal doesn't conflict with that.
Mhm.
Or how can you get them to see it in another manner that doesn't conflict with that? Then they will move.
All right, that's interesting to know. Moving on to your recent challenges. I know that you have taken up so many challenges these days. And I believe that grown you so much in terms of, I don't know, professionally and personally, I believe. Do you want to tell us more a bit on your challenges? So
So
because I know that you have
the challenges being the missions I'm taking on.
yeah, the mission 7 and also for you being in that space where I don't think normal people would be at,
Right.
in that space where you get to connect with people with higher authority and lots of followers and yeah, people with more authority, I believe so.
Well, the challenge I'm doing at the moment is with this really awesome guy. And he's not very well known. He's got a very successful business. And the thing is, like, him and the people around him, I would say they are more underground achievers in that they are not looking for the accolade of, like, I want millions of followers, or I want people to be liking my posts, or like I'm making all these videos to validate myself. They're not doing any of that because they've already made the money. Like, they've already made the money. They're not looking for validation either. Because you can have people that have a lot of money, but they are totally looking for that validation, right? Like, they making content or making posts, so they want like a lot of followers and all that jazz, right? This group of people that I'm working with is like, they've made the money and they're very happy being faceless. Like, they're a bunch of like introverts, really, right? And to win and have the money and then to be able to spread that impact with like-minded people is amazing for them. So we have these like riveting conversations like every week, right? And it's just between us, right? And the group is not very big. And so with them, it's more like it's a game for them, right? They're just gamifying everything. So there's no fear involved. It's just like, hey guys, like, I found this like new AI app that can do this thing at like incredible speed. Like, let's try this thing and see if it works, right? And we will all start building like chatbots in like 1 week.
Wow.
And he would give us this idea. It's like, okay, well, once you build this thing, which only takes like some of us, it's like, well, the dude was like, oh, it only take me 15 minutes to build this chatbot. And then he goes and like pitch it to other people. And then we start talking about, oh, but is it like a moral thing or not? Because he's going, oh, but I only spent 15 minutes. How can I sell this thing for $1,000? Because that was kind of like the suggestion, right? Like, sell this chatbot for $1,000. And he's like, but if I can build this thing for 15 minutes, and the mentor would be like, no, you're not thinking this correctly. He's like, it might only take you 15 minutes, but think about the time it takes for you to like research for the right avatar, or how this demo, who you're going to show it to. You still need to make the presentation slides and stuff, and that takes time, right? So it's not just the 15 minutes. It's like, what about the extra time? And you could show this to 20 people, but only 3 people is interested. So there's a lot of extra time on the site, right? So we were talking about these kind of ethical or moral dilemmas, and like, what's the right pricing, and how do you value it and other people value it? Because the guy was still thinking, but valuing at $1,000 still doesn't seem right to him, right? But then it'll be like, yeah, but on the flip side, if you sold this thing to someone for $1,000 and they can literally like make like $10,000 instantly, because when you deploy this thing, they can like maybe not hire staff, or maybe it helps them have a better relationship with their customers by having this chatbot that's readily available, which otherwise your business is just leaving people like not answering them, right? Like it's way more valuable than $1,000. So we would have these like discussion, which is so interesting because I have a lot of different dilemmas as I do some of these tasks as well.
Oh, and does their answer actually break your limiting beliefs in terms of the dilemmas that you encountered, or
it opens my mind. So I think the most valuable part is like there's no judgment in there. So I can very openly share my thoughts on how I feel. And then we would openly together talk about, oh, okay, yeah, cool. That's an interesting perspective. Let's talk about that. And he will share me his view on it, and opens up my world more. I'm like, no, that's true. Because I have a very open mind as well. So it's like, if you have a argument, like an argument or different perspective,
Yeah.
and I think that actually makes sense more, I have no issue jumping from my thought to the new worldview of thoughts, right? Yeah, if it makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, and from all those missions, do you think that you have grown so much out of it, or?
I've grown a lot in terms of what's actually possible when you have such a short time frame to do things. And the way he works align a lot to the way I work. So when I do my business challenges or video challenges, I give people a very short amount of time, right? It's like 7 video in 7 days. It's like normally people will not do a video in like maybe a whole month or like never, right? But when you've kind of forced people, quotation mark, do it in a fun way that's very encouraging, and they get it done, it's like that's what they want to do, right? It's just like I kind of give them permission to be comfortable and to feel safe and to have this environment where you're very supportive and encouraged to do the thing that you actually want to do. You're not going to fall flat on your face. It's like no matter what step you take, it's going to be like amazing. And that kind of encouragement is what people need. And when they see their peers do it, oh, that person did it already. Like, you know, there's like a positive peer pressure to it. And that's what this guy does. He does the same thing. So it's like, you get to do this mission. You only have 1 week, right? And if you don't get it done, you get kicked out, right? So my last mission was like, you got to publish on Amazon KDP in a week. And this is something I've always wanted to know, because I'm in the middle of writing my book, and I'm thinking, well, even if I don't get a traditional publisher, like if I don't land a book deal, which is my ideal choice, but if that doesn't go through, I'm like, my worst point is like, I will just publish it on Amazon KDP on my own, right? Self-publish. But this isn't a skill I acquired yet. Like I've read about it, I kind of know what I need to do, but I haven't actually done it, right? And by this mission, it's like, now I just know, right? Because I left it till the last day. In fact, I left it till I only had 3 hours. God knows why. Procrastination, right? So like I left till I only had 3 hours. I went and digested all the instruction at high speed in like 1.5 hours. I might have missed some of the instructions, but I digested everything as quick as I could in 1.5 hours. And then I had 1.5 hours to actually complete my mission. I'm like, oh, quick. I'm like, should I do coloring books or what should I do? And I'm trying to do coloring books and trying to use AI and like started mocking things up there. I'm like, wait. Think about this logically. You only have 1.5 hours. You need to make sure you got to give yourself time that in case when you make your account, something happens and you're not loading it properly, wrong size, whatever, right? Like there's things you got to consider, man. So I'm like, you can't spend all of it making this product, load it up, and then like, what if you miss the time? So I'm like, no, okay, wait. What's minimal viable product you can make, right? So I'm like, okay, MVP this thing. I'm like, okay, just make a journal, because it's like just lines, right? So I'm like, you know what? Considering I run challenges all the time, it's like, what if I just made a 30-day challenge? Yeah, I'm like, yeah, just do that. Put your logo on it, make a 30-day challenge journal. You can use it for different things. So I'm just like, okay, so I just made first page. It was like 30 days that you can cross out. And then the next page had like success is your mission, right? Like it just had a quote. And I'm like, the rest of the 97, 98 pages is all just rule, like lines, right? I'm like, yeah, just do that. That 100 pages of journal, throw it up, just sell it for like $7. It'll be amazing. I would even buy it myself, right? So I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do that. Put the brand color on it, load it, chuck it on, and then just make sure it's like the right size and stuff. And my mentor showed us like this platform where you could like already have it set up to make sure it's like KDP like ready. So I'm like, oh, this is amazing, right? So I did that. Put it on, download it, and then upload it up. And then just so luckily, I guess, it was just like because I have the right guidance and instructions, and they're really good instructions, that I loaded everything up like seamlessly. So I had like 3 minutes back like on the clock, and I was like, submit. And I'm like, okay, this thing works. I was like, then I had to do this. We have this reflection video that we have to do as well, which I did. Yeah, I'm like filmed everything, loaded it. I'm like, okay, yeah, 3 minutes left, made it on time,
Yeah.
and then I'm just killing it. Yeah.
Oh, sounds so exciting. Like I think the life like for you like, every day it's different. Like you have so many different challenges. Every day it's different. And what courage or do you have or that mindset do you have to take up all these challenges?
I think it's similar alignment to you, Steve. Growth, right? Growth.
Yeah.
So Excel, it's the same, right? So, when I was thinking about my company name, I thought about it for so long, right? And it's kind of funny because I ended up with Excel purpose, and the Excel part is kind of like I'm not willing to let go of my accounting days, right? Because I'm really good at
That's
Excel. I was
nice.
known as like the Excel guru, right? So it's kind of a play on word with that, taking that on, but it more morphed into the Excel being like continuous improvement, right? So that, yeah. So, but which is growth,
That's
right?
the good
Continuous
part though.
improvement is growth. Like that's what it is. Um, yeah. So I think the excitement is in if I feel like I'm growing every day, that's an exciting life. Like I think when I'm not growing, that's when I feel really flat.
Right. And since that you've established your own company and things like that, like do you know or on top of your head, do you know like how many types of challenges have you been into?
Different types of challenges,
Yeah, or number of challenges.
like actual missions. I think I take on different types of challenges, right? The entrepreneurial life, like the challenges, it's it's kind of endless. It's like you almost don't realize the challenges you have to get through to become, well, I think it's actually an endless, I think it's actually an endless process. I don't think I'll actually reach a point of like, oh, I'm like entrepreneur, like ideal, there's no such thing. It's like, what I love about the entrepreneurial game is that it really is challenging us as a human. I think it's actually a reflection on who we are, and that's the scary part. Because as an entrepreneur, you have to have so many skill set. Like everything is put to test, right? Are you a good salesperson? What's sales anyway? Are you a good communicator? Can you communicate the value of what you have to someone else? That's what sales actually is, right? Can you market yourself? Can you talk about your strength so that people see it, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily in like a really direct way, right? It's an indirect way. So in every day, we are all marketing ourselves, whether we want to or not. It happens the moment you show up. So it's all of these skill sets. Can you negotiate, right? Can you put together an attractive offer? Can you like get your idea from your head into someone else's head and make it exciting for them? Can you actually deliver as a trainer that holds someone's like attention, keep it there, keep the energy high, and have them engaging with your content and not fall asleep, right? All of these skill sets is what we actually need. It's just when you play the entrepreneur game, you put it on the table, you put it on as a test. And I think most of us don't want to find out if we are actually got these skills.
And how do you find your way to acquire all these skills?
How to find it? By
Like,
it's
because
like
when you
it's a
first,
mirror, right? Like every time I talk to someone,
yeah,
like if I'm trying to, let's say if in front of me it's a person and they are kind of like an introvert, but I know that they have a goal of like writing the book, for example, right? So my challenge would be, can I convince that person to like accept help from me
Mhm.
to help them reach this goal? So that would be on multiple fronts. Do they trust me as a person? Do they trust that I have the process or the connection to help them reach that goal? And do they trust themselves? Can I get them to believe in themselves enough that I'm the right person with the right set of skills, with the right connection, even if I haven't done it, right? Like, do I have the connection to get them this goal, right? And so I will reflect on those things. And if I can get that person to trust these three elements of trust, then that means I won this game. Because when they celebrate that goal to me and they give me the high five, that's amazing to me. Like that is ultimate fulfillment to me.
Yeah. And it's also like bringing in purpose for yourself to help them achieve their goals, right?
Yes, that is the purpose. That is the
Yeah.
purpose. To me, that is the purpose. Like, because the saddest time or the darkest time for me, this is like after I quit corporate and I'm like, yay, have enough money, like living the life. And I wasn't very happy. It's like, holy shit, I just have no fulfillment. Where do I get this fulfillment thing? And I've realized that fulfillment literally comes from like, am I adding value to this world? And adding value to this world to me actually just means, am I helping other people?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And making money at the
And,
same.
and making money at the same time, but it's a byproduct, the money.
Yeah.
Because the money will come naturally. Like if you are helping people, they will be like thanking you for paying you. It's like I will literally have clients that has asked me like, hey, you haven't sent me that invoice yet, right? Like that's the point you want to get to. It's like like your own clients will remind you to send them the bill, right?
Yeah.
It's no different than like when you go to a good restaurant, right? You're really happy to go pay for that bill because you just
Oh,
had a
yeah.
delicious meal. Yeah, so it's that, right? The money is a byproduct. It's, are you adding value to the person?
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a really good session with you, Karms. And yeah, I mean, like, thank you so much for your time, for coming into my show. It's my first session, and
Yeah.
thank you for sharing so much on your journey, which I know you always really love to share. Yeah, thank you so much.
You're absolutely welcome.
Thanks for tuning in the Unshakable Growth. Stay unshakable, and I'll catch you in the next episode.